That's good. That's good.
Fine evening to you, Dennis.
And to you.
Welcome to Happy Hour.
Good to be here.
Beer in hand.
Oh, thank God. You get to laugh out loud at this time of the day.
Exactly.
You know, and here's the thing. This is the first time I've laughed out loud all day. It's not been a joyous day.
I mean, it's right there in the name. It's an hour, which is a time, and happy, which is laughing out loud. So
that's right. Hey,
or lolling, as the kids say.
Speaking of happy, and speaking of hour, the British comedian and singer. Okay, so Google Russell Brand being interviewed by Bill Maher, and talking about addiction, and it's it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing.
Okay,
I've never seen somebody more in command of Bill Maher's show than him. He owned Bill Maher. It was hilarious.
Russell Brand is a sharp wit for sure.
Oh God.
I don't necessarily agree with him on all of his opinions, but he's a quick wit.
When you exude so many opinions, it's not surprising that you can't agree with all of them.
Yes.
I heard something interesting today. On another note, that there's this great fellow I work with who's a very hands-on construction worker who spend a lot of work in the house, and I just trust him like a brother. Mm-hmm. And we sat down over coffee as we were divvying up invoice and stuff, and ended up talking politics, a little bit of religion, a little bit of history. And he said, when we talked about, people helping each other in homelessness, we got into that topic. And then we talked about the government, and we got into this, and we got into disagreements and divisiveness. And,
mm-hmm.
and I said, what if we're not careful, things could get worse than they already are. And he kind of put his head down and he said, I agree with you. He said, I voted for Trump because I liked some of the things he was saying. I liked the way he was talking about doing things. And the fact is that I couldn't bring myself to vote for Hillary Clinton
mm-hmm.
because she's a corrupt politician. And, and he said, little did I know. And I said, then we started talking about the election.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, look, I'm looking forward to Mike Bloomberg, because he's going to take up the space that Biden is in. And Biden, he said, because Biden seems to be slipping. He didn't know the stories about the nibbling the fingers
mm-hmm.
and the hair on the legs and I sent you an article that tied those together. So once again, people are listening to our show. They're writing articles about the stuff that we're talking about.
Exactly.
They get paid. We don't get paid.
Right.
Except for Brutus, our one guy who listens to us.
Patreon.com/happy hour. Yes. It's Joe is just such a weird dude. Like he's the grandpa nobody wants to be around.
Well, he's the grandpa everybody wants to be around, I think. And sometimes when that happens, you're like, holy cow, grandpa, what exactly are you doing? Right. He's very loved. Now, imagine that when he walks into the room and he flashes that amazing historical smile with his ease of handshaking and his charisma that exudes in one-on-one in his history.
Yeah.
And he's just a very nice guy. Now, he may approach you and want to hug you or touch you or even smell you,
right.
But be forewarned.
It's like, hey, Grandpa, I love you, Grandpa. What the fuck, Grandpa?
No.
Get your hands off my bathing suit area, Grandpa.
The weirdest thing about his crazy thing about, I used to jump into the pool and my hair would go down on my legs so the kids could see it, the hairs rise up as the sun hit them. And I've learned a lot, he said, and this is the thing that makes no sense, which makes me wonder about his mental health. He says, yes, I've learned a lot about roaches and I love children climbing on my lap. What in God's name is he referencing?
Is he high?
Roaches.
Yeah.
No, he's Kerouac-esque, Kerouac-esque in his meandering, and he's lost his inhibition.
There it is.
It's the filter. How else can you explain nibbling on his wife's hands? Which you and I look at that picture and we think, well, he's trying to be funny, But
I
we don't
guess.
want funny. We don't. No, he was trying to be funny. Listen, this is
Wouldn't
what's
it be
important
funny
about
if
the
I
nib-
nibbled on my wife's fingers here in front of a
This is what
crowd?
you need to know about the nibbling. Okay, you
Tell me
need to
about the
watch
nibbling.
the full 7-minute video. Because
Okay.
if you do, you will see his wife come out, and for 4 minutes, 5 minutes, she's talking to the crowd. She's giving the stump speech, and there's Smiling Joe with his baseball cap on. That's just a black and very very fashionable black and gray baseball hat, no wording on it, just an image of the state of Iowa raised up in the front of the cap, and he is all smiles. He's laughing when she talks. He's waving. He's having the time of his life, listening to his wife, and the whole time that she's talking, she's doing this with her hands. Sorry, she's doing
Is
this
she hitting
with
the
her
microphone
hands.
with her gesticulations?
No,
It's like-
back, but she's using her hands and she's going way out like a flying bird wing type
Right,
of basketball. And
Like
it happened again and
Jesus.
again and again. The crowd's liking her. Joe's laughing, having a great time, and she gets her hands pretty close to his face, and so to be funny, he nibbles on her fingers, and people laughed, and they, but that doesn't transpose very well into a national soundbite.
Had she just
And
been kneading cookie dough or something? I mean, jeez.
I don't know, but when you get the whole context of it, you can see it was just him having a great time and being too comfortable on stage and trying to get people to laugh, and be funny.
Yeah, that's it.
He
It's
likes
that lack
people
of
to be
inhibition.
comfortable.
It's the
He's with his friends in Iowa.
It's the
He's got
over
these
assumption
loving-
of camaraderie. Like, it's like something you would do, several hours into happy hour, where you're just sort of sitting around with your friends and like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if I, well, that's still not. If I nibbled on your fingers, no. Finger nibbling in public is never okay. I'm just going to go out on a limb.
So let me ask
I'm
you
going to
this.
set the stance of our podcast is finger nibbling in public is not okay.
Okay. So listen
Unless
to
they're
this.
chicken
I want you to imagine what would happen if Mike Bloomberg did that.
Yeah.
He would be called immediately unfit for office, unstable.
Or any of the candidates except for Trump, obviously. Any of the Democratic candidates.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't see
if
Trump
Bernie
doing that.
did that.
Because it was affectionate, and Trump has no affection other than himself.
Right.
So Joe Biden was being affectionate with his wife, who maybe there had been finger nibbling in their past, because I don't recall that she was particularly alarmed or had a particular look of wonderment. I mean, I think the close-up that we should show in the notes is after we see the nibbling of the fingers, do another close-up shot of her face as he's doing it, and that will tell us everything we need to know is exactly what's going on. What if she's got her eyes half closed in some type of sign of pleasure?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
What if her eyes are fluttering? Or what if she's rolling her eyes? Or what if she looks stunned? What if she's like with her eyebrows way up high in her head, like, what? No, I don't think so.
Well, maybe
I think try to ignore it, probably.
Maybe some of his staff told him he had to make his campaign a little bit more digital.
I think so.
So
I think so.
I'm just saying.
That's very good. That's your first clever quip.
Maybe so.
Of the evening. But the record reflects 17 minutes in. It was, it's not bad.
So, have you? I wasn't clear from your email. Have you seen The Irishman? The Irishman?
No, it's coming up Saturday night.
Oh.
This is our viewing party.
Well, I have, and
oh yeah,
it's good. It took me 2.5 days to get through it, because it's 3.5 hours.
I wonder if that changes the nature of the experience much. I would imagine.
And I will decline to speak about it until you have seen it, so we can talk with common knowledge. So, there's that. You try and do your homework, and then you do it before it's due. It's like
you beat your deadline.
Right, exactly. You think, oh well, that I'll be responsible. I'm going to do my homework so I'm not late, and then you're early. So.
And then by the time it comes around, you've forgotten most of it because you don't have that much capacity to remember things.
Exactly. I for one, was not really aware of Jimmy Hoffa as a character because he was before my time.
Yeah.
And it
even though you're from Michigan and near enough to Detroit to have known the history a bit.
Except that I'm not.
You're not. You weren't. You haven't been. You won't be historically interested.
I weren't never. Because I'm from North Carolina.
It's just right. It's like multiple choice. Oh, I've got 2 images of you on my screen. That's frightening. Let's get rid of one of them.
Oh no, my twin brother.
So do that thing with the background.
Man, this is like a fetish for you. Jeez.
Just do it.
I can't get off until I. Let's see. Ready? Now you see my background? No, you don't.
Oh, that's cool.
That's just magic.
You've never taught me how to do that.
Well, every single time I try, and every single time I fail. We fail as a team.
I know why. So whatever happened, you figured of the guy who was driving back and forth to Kansas? What was his name? From episode number
5.
X through X.
Yeah. I think...
Did we hear back from him?
If he had some car trouble at one point, but...
I knew that.
But...
wasn't he the one that wrote us and said he wants us to record 5 days a week at least?
Well, I mean... I think everyone listening right now would like more content out of us. But, we have lives.
More content, as opposed to what we're doing tonight.
Well, I mean, we're extruding personality from our orifices.
Yes. Well, you have at least 2 more than everybody else I've ever met in my life.
And it's just pouring into our
level of it. It's pouring
into the ears of so many people. And
the level of exuding is high.
They seem pleased. I haven't heard any complaints yet from the Uruguayans aren't much into complaining. Really. Well,
they're laid back.
Yeah.
Laid back.
Plus they're way over yonder, and it's like summer over there, so they're at the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should go there. It's cold here. Yeah. The city came by and cleaned up the leaves today. It was quite an exercise, and when I saw it happening, the neighbor who had
it was like a leaf exorcism.
Yes, and the neighbor has almost, I'd say, 100 yards of road frontage that was all piled with leaves because he's got 3 acres of trees, and they had blown the leaves 3 times, so there was a 4-foot pile of leaves on the 3-foot in between the sidewalk and the road on what is essentially city property on his grass that he must maintain, in between trees that he's planted that he must maintain. But it's the city's land.
Right.
And so they had this, the first machine was a guy riding a vacuum cleaner that had an exhaust hose that was 18 inches in diameter and blew leaves with such force that, and it was low enough to the ground, and he had a handle, he could like move it up or down. He would blow a 3.5-foot deep pile of leaves, some dry, some wet, off that embankment into the road. And then he was holding another leaf blower that he used to get by the fences. And he was really quite the worker. And then behind him was this thing of this huge tractor that had a cab on it that the guy was out of the weather. And it had what essentially looked like a big cage in front of it, or part of a cage that was a scoop. But it was boxy and 3.5-foot high with big sides on it. And he would use the right edge of that and get right up against the curb, going faster than hell, and scoop up them damn leaves and push piles of them and then lift them and dump them into a truck that had something to compact them and whatever. It was amazing.
That seems I always like watching well-engineered solutions to problems like that, where you're just in awe of the design decisions that went into each of the steps, and you're like, wow, that's actually a perfect thing for this specific task.
That's really smart. Well, case in point, exactly, is that when they tore up the street in front of me, which you recall in prior episodes, I took advantage of by throwing my concrete down when the road was closed. Mm-hmm. But they had the road closed to replace leaded pipes, or in my case, steel pipes with copper. And I couldn't quite understand when he said, we're only going to dig a hole by the road where the main line is at the T that tees into your property, and that's all we're going to do. And I said, well, how are you going to lift that pipe out of there? Mm-hmm. I mean, do you have to have that trench go back all the way to the other side of the road, or do you dig a trench in my yard to lift it out? Yes. And he said, no, we built a machine that takes that and winds it on a coil, and the machine is 6 feet high, and the round wheel is 5 feet high, and it takes the steel pipe,
it bends the pipe around the,
and it winds it up like a coil, like a yo-yo,
like a thread on a spool.
Yes, and then it dislodges from the conveyor, and then you have a spool of steel that gets picked up by, of course, a tractor with a little lift on the front of it.
Steel
claw.
Like
steel spool.
Like a spring.
Steel spool.
Steel spool.
You speaking German?
That's my Swedish.
Oh, I saw a movie the other day. What was it? And,
Ein Steel spool.
Steel spool. So here, you got to Google this. Kurt Russell playing Santa Claus.
Oh, God.
And in the Santa Claus movie, he as Santa Claus is in a jail cell, locked up for what he was busted for on the street. And in the jail cell are all sorts of men, and in the cell across the way, women who end up being cut-rate musicians. Some of them have never played an instrument before, and Santa reaches into his coat, as he does in a whim, and hands everyone an instrument, an electric guitar, a horn. And this guy says, I don't know how to play this. And Santa says, Kurt Russell's character Santa says, you do now.
Yeah.
And then he sings and does an entire song in a quasi Elvis impersonation that he's quite good at. And it is a rock and blues tune with 3 women backup singers, and it's worth sliding through the whole movie. He also has the best beard in Santa history, without a doubt.
I'm looking at some pictures now on IMDb. This movie is called The Christmas Chronicles.
Yes.
From 2018, where Kurt just must have been like, sure, I'll take some money to... Because,
you know why? Because he got to do this scene. And you know who one of the guitar players is?
No.
Van Zandt. Van Zandt from Bruce Springsteen's band.
Huh.
Little Stevie.
Yeah.
And it's a rare scene because Little Stevie is in it without his head kerchief on. His babushka.
Steven Van Zandt, yes. Yeah, so I don't recognize any of the other actors' names in this movie. There
aren't any.
I think it's a Netflix movie.
It's Kurt Russell from beginning to end, and it's really ridiculous. But the point, of course, is the scene, which is what the show notes need to have because it's good. It's good from the time that you need to cut it so that when he hands little Stevie his guitar, from that point forward in the jail for the next 4 minutes.
So here's the plot synopsis from IMDb. The story of sister and brother Kate and Teddy Pierce, whose Christmas Eve plan to catch Santa Claus on camera turns into an unexpected journey that most kids could only dream about. Dun dun dun.
Dun dun.
Dun dun. Yeah, except with Christmas carols. Wow. I'm not gonna spend any of my life watching that.
Just Google the scene.
Oh yeah, I mean YouTube is full. If you look on YouTube for Kurt Russell Santa Claus, you're gonna get lots of hits for that. I'll put it in the show notes.
Very good.
happyhour.fm/037.
There you go. There you go. Do your job.
I think that's a
what
prime
we're paying
number.
you for.
37.
Everyone to know, I don't take any money for this. You get it all.
Yes, I am raking it in.
You get it all.
Patreon.com/happyhour. Because, look, you guys are enjoying this, you listeners, and, it's, gotta throw a little, you put your Benjamins where your ears are, or whatever. $100 donations are welcome as
Welcome. Put a note on them, and we'll talk about whatever you'd like us to, which is usually nothing at all,
Exactly.
pretty much. And that is, I guess, the point.
Got no slave with reindeer, no sack on my back. You gonna see me coming in a big black Cadillac. Oh, it's Christmas time, pretty baby.
So the house has met a milestone. We had a bank appraiser come in
Congratulations.
and assess it. It was in 2% of what our projected goal was for the assessment value.
That's
means-
a bullseye, right? More or less, right?
More
It's a
or
real
less.
estate bullseye.
The plan worked. And, it's interesting. I think we talked about this, but we know that the difference between a bank market value estimate and an actual market value estimate could be great depending on the specific market. The banks don't take fluctuation of markets into account and say, well, if the market was really good, you could get X, but if the market isn't so good, you could get Y. They don't do that. They base it on house sales in the last 6 months, period.
Is that good or bad? Or both?
It's good for us because in the past 6 months, houses have sold throughout Kalamazoo at a good price. It's been a seller's market. So we're doing this at exactly the right time. That we met our goals, which means we can rest easy a bit in the finances. But it's all very complicated.
Oh, it's about financing, because I was going to say you just bought it, you moved in, you're planning to live there for another decade.
That's right.
You're not getting the price to sell, you're getting the price to finance.
To mortgage.
Right.
Yeah, and so you take your home improvement loans, and so housing is coded in appraisals, everything from a C1, which is a brand new construction, to a C2, which is a totally renovated and what they call, lock key ready, go in and live there. That's a C2. Or
Are you like
C2.
Are you liking a C12?
C6. And a C3 is needing renovation, and a but some renovation. And a C4 is no renovation, it really needs it. So we bought a C4.
C4 is an explosive, as far as Hollywood has taught me.
And now, what's that?
C4 is an explosive.
Oh, well.
That explains what happened to your house.
That's right. We bought a C4, and we now are at C2.
Congratulations.
The highest rating that you can get for a home that you didn't build brand new.
Moving up the property ladder, as they say.
Yes. So the fellow was good and thorough, quick.
You didn't tell him. Didn't tell him about the chipmunk.
Oh, chipmunk's dead, man.
Well, yeah, but we can still remember his zest for life.
I wonder if. Well, I hid the glass case that his remains are in. Mike dropped it off the other day. Because I asked him what happened.
That taxidermy on your desk is just.
I said, Mike, whatever happened to that chipmunk, little Eric, who fell into the paint remover?
The turpentine, yeah.
And with the purple paint in it, and died in the terrible purple drowning. He said, "Oh, you want it back?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I didn't know that you wanted it. I'll bring it back." And I said, "Mike, I didn't know that you kept it." Next day, I found it on my doorstep. He had taken an aquarium and created a little, what do you call it when you take a box and you create a panorama in it? There's the word for it, but you can look that up. But anyway.
Panoramify.
Panorama box, I don't know. But it made it look like a desert so that the little Eric the chipmunk was laid in purple rest.
But, I mean...
And it was sealed. Could we... is there a market for that?
And then... What I don't understand is why you went to the taxidermist to turn him into a hat. So you can wear little chipmunk Eric protruding from your head every day out into the snow.
Hey, you could make quite the big show of it at your Brooklyn apartment. Having a purple chipmunk hat would set you apart.
Exactly.
You could balance it on your protuberant ankle and foot. Oh my God, what was that? You or me?
There's some sports announcement for you.
Oh yeah. Speaking of sports announcement, not to date this podcast, but last night was the major embarrassment of 2019, where Michigan State University had Duke visiting. They had dropped from number 1 and number 2 in preseason polls to number 10 and 11, each suffering one or more losses. And this was an invitational ACC Big Ten tournament, and they were playing at Breslin Center, and they got whooped. They got punched. They fell down. There's a great shot, and put it on the show notes, of Tom Izzo holding his head in his hands. And his quotable quote when he had his press conference, you need to post. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was outplayed, outcoached, outfought. Those were his 3 opening words of his press conference.
Wow.
Outcoached, outplayed, outworked, and then got a little unlucky on a couple
Go
things.
green, go white, but oh my God. And I actually had some long nights, all-nighters. We got up at 3 o'clock the other night to get the house ready for the appraisal. So we were up all day. I haven't sleeping that much.
Those Blue Devils just...
But I fell asleep at 8 o'clock and woke up at 10:15 and went down and watched the rest of the game. And it never looked good from the moment I turned it on. Apparently it never looked good from the moment the game began. And there's this kid that was recruited by MSU who instead went to Duke, who could not be stopped. Basket after basket, slap away the ball, block shot, unbelievable. It's hard to sit through that when your team is just getting embarrassed.
Okay. Well, this has been Sports Corner with Dennis.
Listen,
I'm sure everyone has looked up that exact game and has paused our podcast to go watch the replay. And,
they don't need to, because they're going to see it on your show notes.
Well, and you just gave just a blow by blow description.
Then
Spoiler alert. I mean,
well, it's not like a secret, man. It's like sports headlines. Little would you know, I don't, unless they're posting now. Cricket. Is that what you play in Spain? Is cricket? No, soccer.
Cheap. No.
Football, huh?
Yeah.
Football.
Yeah.
Crazy, isn't it?
It is. There's. They kick the ball, and it flies.
Hey, so I had an idea the other day. What would happen if the sports of football and professional basketball, by King's order, King's Trump 2025, or whenever he decides he wants to do this.
King Dennis.
King Donald Trump. And he forces them to switch balls. So the football quarterback is throwing a basketball, and the basketball teams have to dribble a football. And then they shake it up. It's like gotten too predictable by 2025, right?
Right. 2040, when King Trump is still
King Trump
on the throne.
Or his son Donald, and then his son, what's his son's name? Barton or Barlow? Good Lord.
Myrtle?
His younger.
Morton? Bartholomew? Yeah, like I said, King Trump doesn't necessarily refer to Donald in 2040.
No, it's one of his progeny. Like,
King Trump the fourth.
Like the Korean line that he so admires.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, so that's a dumb idea, I gotta say. Trying to dribble an American football.
That would be harder than playing football with a basketball, by far.
Yes, I concur with that. However,
but can you
if you change, if what we now know is football, you have to be dribbling the basketball the whole time with people trying to tackle you. And with basketball, you are throwing spirals at each other, and then into the hoop.
No, basketball, you get to tackle the other player. You're playing basketball with a football, and the change is when you're doing defense, you're allowed to be physical with who you're after. It'll make things quick.
Is it gonna escalate like American football did with your helmets and your padding and stuff?
Yeah.
Because then you're just playing football on a basketball court, trying to get the oblong thing into the hoop.
But you got to dribble it the whole time. There's that. So I think light padding. But on the other hand, too, I think that the football players will not be allowed to wear any protective gear. No, they have to. They're still going to get creamed, even though it's basketball. Or what if you switched football and golf?
Such that
you use the club to hit the ball to your receivers.
And the ball is what size?
A golf ball.
And the receivers have to catch it and then run it
like
to the green to throw it in the hole?
No, over the goal line.
Okay.
And when you're playing golf, you have to use the clubs you have to hit a basketball.
Yeah.
The holes would obviously be bigger. You make the clubs bigger, too.
I'm not going to invest in this enterprise.
Maybe with the golf, instead of just a club, you've got some like a cannonball type device that works off the electric of the golf cart, and you can kind of blow the basketball up the course instead of hitting it.
Like those T-shirt cannons that they shoot T-shirts into the crowd with.
Yeah, right.
And that's somehow still no. I think that's still dumber than golf, which is a low bar.
Speaking of which, isn't the Robin Williams monologue on the how the Scots invented golf just the most hilarious?
It is good.
How they invented it when they were drunk one night. Oh God, it's funny.
And you realize how drunk they get. They could wear a skirt and not care. And how they could invent a sport like golf. Here's my idea for a fucking sport. I knock a ball in a gopher hole.
Oh, you mean like pool?
Fuck off, pool! Not with a straight stick, with a little fucked up stick. I whack the ball that goes in a gopher hole.
Oh, you mean like croquet?
Fuck croquet! I put the hole hundreds of yards away! Oh, fuck out, yeah! It's great fun there! Oh, yeah, that's a great thing.
Oh, like a bowling thing?
Fuck no! Not straight, I put shit in the way. Like trees and bushes and high glass, so you can lose your fucking ball and go whacking away with a fucking tire iron. Whacking away, and each time you miss, you feel like you're gonna have a stroke. Fuck, that's what we'll call it. A stroke, because every time you miss, you feel like you're gonna fucking die. Oh, great. Oh, and here's a bit of part. Oh, fuck, this is brilliant. Right near the end, I'll put a flat piece with a little flag to give you fucking hope.
I'm listening.
I don't think it's super true, but it's certainly hilarious.
I don't think it's true.
Much like everything on this show.
Yes.
It's not super true, but it's
not even close.
Yeah. We're basically Robin Williams.
Look, here doesn't matter. We're just talking.
It's just an hour, and we're not sad.
Don't want to be sad.
Don't want to be sad in this hour.
Happy.
This is an hour for happy. We don't want to be, So I discovered a thing on the internet today that may be the most important article of investigative journalism on the entire internet. And this is an article by a food scientist who went and reverse engineered McDonald's French fries. He went because I think we can. If you're a human with a heart beating in your chest, you can agree that McDonald's French fries are the best way to consume potatoes, fried potatoes especially. And so this guy went and like took it on as a project of how do I get, because
my French fries to taste like theirs.
Yes, because when I chop up potatoes into strips and fry them, they are not at all like McDonald's French fries.
They don't taste that.
They're either more brown and burnt, or they're more limp and don't hold their structure very well, and their taste is different, and the crunchiness is different. And this will be in the show notes because it is the best thing on the internet. And he does this whole research, and it's at first he thinks maybe it's because they come frozen from whatever McDonald's factory ships out to all the locations. But it's not solely about being frozen.
No, it's about the preparation prior to
freezing, and also afterwards. Right. And so he goes, and I love stories like this where the hero narrator goes down some alleys and finds that no, that's the wrong answer, and has to come back and go and search for other answers. And he starts off trying to like fry it twice because he's heard that it's fried once, and then right before you serve it, you fry it again. And then he hears that they're boiled at some temperature for a little bit before they are fried.
Ooh,
fried again.
That doesn't seem right.
Well,
I don't think so.
Well, and then
I've seen them cook them, so I know that's not right.
You've seen them cook them from frozen.
From a frozen
but
bag,
you don't know what happens
directly
in the factory.
I see what you're saying.
And then
boiled in the factory.
And then he reaches out to some social media contacts and says, "Hey, first of all, he goes into his local McDonald's and says, "Hey, can I get some of your fries frozen as they are as you receive them?" And the lady there says, "We don't do that, sir." And he says, "No, really." He comes up with this story. He says, "My wife is pregnant and she likes them, right hot out of the oil, and so I want to take them home for her and fry them in the oil so that it comes out just nice and fresh." And the lady there's like, "No, sir, we don't do that." And he said, "Can I talk to your manager?" And she said, "I am the manager, sir." and he was like, "Well, fuck." So then he reaches out. He's got some sort of following on Facebook, and he says, "Hey, all you guys on Facebook, do you have any way that you can get access to the frozen, raw material that is shipped to the McDonald's locations?" And he finds somebody that has a way into that, and so he gets the actual frozen stuff, and he cooks them in his house. He
once, twice, right?
Well, maybe he gets like 50 fries, and he like divvies them up so that he can like do sort of control experiments on different things. Right. And it turns out that the type of oil that is used, like famously McDonald's used to use beef tallow, which gave sort of this extra flavor to the fries. But then the vegetarians got all upset and said, "Well, we need to be able to eat your fries, and they can't have any beef on them." So anyway, he discovers that the type of oil doesn't matter, and then he goes and he knows that something that they've been fried before they were frozen, because he can see little bubbles of on the texture of the thing.
They were pre-fried.
And anyway, I won't spoil it, but he does eventually manage to figure out the 10 steps you have to do before you freeze your potatoes, such that you can pull them out at any moment and throw them in the oil and make good French fries.
Wow.
But it was just an epic journey.
A journey, yeah. Well, the premise is a little off. You said that everyone would agree that McDonald's French fries. I don't agree. My favorite French fries are curly fries, which are served with vinegar and heavy on the salt. And McDonald's wouldn't sell them. You buy them at fairs and festivals for the most part, and they come in great big brown cardboard cones. Those are the best French fries in the world.
Well, no one ever said you were normal, Dennis.
I'd be surprised if I'm alone here. My wife, for example, is with me on this.
Well, isn't that just a happy marriage? Your curly fried tubers, a line.
Curly fried tubers. Come from a long line of tubers.
Well, now we have YouTubers, which is a different
all together.
Indeed. Curly fried tubers. That's like fried green tomatoes. That sounds like a title for an episode of a podcast or something.
I don't know. I wonder if we could get anybody good to act in it.
Well, I mean, Kurt Russell is certainly looking for some work.
Kurt Russell. So the other movie I saw the other night, and you've got to put this on your list, was Between the Ferns, the movie.
Shit, they made a movie out of that with
yes.
Zach Galifianakis. Yes.
Yes, and
he went to my university.
It is hilarious. I mean, the one thing I'll say about the episodes are that they're brief, with one guest, but when you put them back, I never felt like I got enough. So I would see 1, 2, 3, or 4 interviews. So you have the benefit of a loosely constructed plot that carries him all over the United States, that has him interviewing personalities, and then and this isn't a spoiler by way of content, but know that you need to watch it all the way through the credits, because the stuff, the bloopers and the stuff that they had to take out is just, I was rolling on the floor.
Yes,
it's just that funny.
I recall many of his episodes. The one I've seen the most or been reminded of the most was when he had President Obama between Two Ferns, and of course Obama was there trying to promote Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act, as he called it. But yeah, Zach Galifianakis is particularly good at that.
And did he put the president on any type of an edge like he does everyone? I mean, he didn't get out of character for the president, did he?
No, he didn't.
Right.
He was totally
totally.
And at some point, I think
Obama's irritated.
I think Obama said, "Okay, I think we're done here."
Yeah.
But then many of his guests do that.
Yeah. He has Matthew McConaughey on. I don't know that it was in an episode, but he says to him, "So you've won an Academy Award. Were you surprised, as we all were, that it was for acting?"
Exactly.
Oh, and he starts to get pissed.
Well, do you remember back in the 90s, there was this guy called Tom Green?
Yeah, I know Tom Green. Oh, Tom. Yeah. I know Tom Green. I've seen the show.
But he was trying to do what Zach does, but he was just so much more of a dick about it, in a way.
I think the difference was that Tom Green wasn't a character. Tom Green was himself.
Yeah.
Zach is a character, which is a character which is actually a caricature of people like Tom Green and worse.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I had that feeling about Tom Green at all, but that's what you did. Though,
I never liked Tom Green. I never thought his.
I've only seen it a couple of times.
I thought his level of just being mean to people was. I mean, like he was doing interviews, but it wasn't. I don't know. It crossed a line for me that I thought he was just an asshole. For example, another great example of this is Ali G, who is a character from Sacha Baron Cohen. Who?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that came. Yes. That was popular in England when I was living in England, and I didn't really get it at the time. I didn't really, in much the same way that the pilot episode of The Office in the UK, I didn't really get that it was a mockumentary. Like I sort of fell for the idea that it was actually a documentary and this guy was just an asshole. I didn't really understand that Ali G was a character, but much in the way that Ali G and Sacha Baron Cohen does some great interviews where he talks about how with Ali G he stayed in character, he met his guests in character, and his whole point was try and make his guest think that he was just the dumbest
Right.
idiot
The worst.
around, uncultured moron.
Right.
And
like in the dinner table of the right wing Christian family,
Right.
where he talked about the 12-year-old daughter's sexual
Exactly.
development.
Sure.
And they were
That sort of thing.
They were stunned, and it was all on camera, and
Right.
they were stunned.
But that for example, that's intentionally being an asshole and knowing that you're doing so, which is totally what Zach is doing. But God, Tom Green, I couldn't see the line there between his actual self and his personality and his on-screen personality. Maybe I was just totally fooled, and he's actually a really nice guy. I don't really know.
I don't know. I don't know that much about it, but I'll when I think of it, I'll look at a couple of episodes and see. I don't really recall all that, but something.
It's not so much of an episode. So he had a show.
It's interviews, right? It's a talk show.
Yeah, but before that,
With musicians, I thought,
well,
and actors perhaps, and sports figures. I mean, it's a talk show. That's what I remember.
But before that, he was on MTV. Yeah, he had a TV show on MTV called The Tom Green Show, and he would just sort of interview people and I don't know, just sort of be
Salt them.
Yeah, I don't know. The taste in my mouth from those days is just gross, but it was the 90s, so.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go.
We received a lot of Christmas presents today.
Did you in advance?
I went out for a walk today, and I was walking down the street, and the mailman crossed the street through traffic to come over to tell me, "Hey man, I got like 3 packages for you, but I don't have them with me right now, so I'll drop them off at your house, later this afternoon." And I was like, "Okay, thanks, man. Glad that you know me." And
Right.
and then when he came by, I said, "So you must be just exhausted in this season." And he was like, "Fucking Black Friday, man, it's killing me."
Yeah.
Because
that's international.
Well, it is now, yes. But yeah,
And the taxing on that stuff has not been perfected, to say the least. There's an awful lot of commerce that's going on internationally that's not being taxed. You're probably aware of that in your line of work.
Not so much. I do. There are some things that I can order from Amazon.com where they say, "Yeah, we'll ship to Spain," but it's better if I find something and then I go and search for that same object on Amazon,
In Spain.
Amazon.es, and if I can find it there, then my Amazon Prime will cover the shipping, and it's
What's .es?
España.
España.
No, España.
España.
Yes.
Is that how they have to say the word all the way through the end every time they say it?
All the time.
España.
Yes. It's a little bit like those old Budweiser ads. Like, "What's that?" We say, "España."
España. Yeah.
Exactly.
So tell me about the clubs near you that you go to. Do you go to some of them, and there's what's the music scene? Can you go somewhere and listen to blues, for example, or play blues?
Not
Or could you introduce it?
Not in my town. There are 2 cities nearby that maybe they would have blues music, but not. I think it might be complicated to find. There is a band that does. There are two dudes that have a band where they make other music, but then they also do their 2-man duo where they do covers of popular songs, and many of them are American songs.
Each with an instrument.
Yes, the 2 guitars. One the the singer is normally acoustic, and the other guy is between mandolin and electric guitar. But they'll do like REM and Coldplay and some Johnny Cash and that sort of thing. But the singer, I don't know if he spent some time abroad, but his English is really good. Like when Spaniards try and sing English songs, it is often just terrible. Like
Really?
like it's like if you tried to sing a Spanish song where you were just trying to mimic the phonemes, but you didn't really understand the meaning or what it was. And so a lot of that happens where just the pronunciation is terrible. But this particular singer speaks English and sings very.
And they're singing them all in English, obviously.
Yes, they do in their set of say 30 songs. They do like 3 in Spanish, 3 pop songs that are known by the audience, but the rest are all English songs known by the audience because they're so famous internationally. So Ray Charles and that sort of thing. But I wouldn't call it blues for sure. But whenever they play in my little town, I always try and go to see them. And now I've seen them like 5 or 6 times, and they know me. And sometime during their set they're like, and this one is for Eric out there, I see him right there sipping on his beer.
Do you ever have the urge to go up and play a bit, play guitar a bit?
They don't have that option really. The singer and acoustic player is a lefty, and he's got his guitar strung all wrong, so I couldn't really pick
upside
up
down.
Yeah. But maybe during the break one time, if I was.
Can't you take a guitar with you? Ask him. Say,
Maybe.
hey man, I'd like to do a couple blues tunes with you. I got a couple. Let me next time you come in, let's connect maybe and say maybe third set, because that's when they might be saying, oh well, we're running out of material,
Yeah, well,
or just it gets looser, as the night goes on. I'm usually end up playing in the third set when somebody calls me up.
Well,
because everything up to there is pretty much planned out, and you don't want to break the monotony. It's not easy to play 3 sets. That's a lot of music,
But like I've been to like 5 or 6 of their performances, and they rarely add a new song. It's the same 15 songs over and over again, and they play them really well. But it's not like I could walk up and, because I don't.
They're not loose.
I don't know any blues songs that I could whip out and sing to.
Yes, you do.
Well, I need you to be my singer. You need to come over here, and we can go in and set up at a local bar.
Well, we're gonna come see you.
Well,
there is some event that's going to bring us to Europe. I think it's the remarriage of a couple of friends of our kids' friends, who we're very close with, who live in. He works in Switzerland.
Did
I
they
think
get divorced?
as a concierge. Huh?
Why are they remarrying?
Oh, well, just because you repeat your vows. We've done it 4 times. We've been married 4 times in our 45 years.
Wow. Okay.
There you go. So anyway,
wait, hold on. Oh yeah. Yes. Well, by all means, Switzerland is not that close, but closer than you are now. So.
I think I'm not sure. I think it'll be in France, actually.
Well, that's even closer in Frencher.
Yes.
Well, that would be lovely. I received, as I mentioned in the last episode, I received my electric guitar today.
Oh, well now.
And
isn't that why we should be talking about you stepping up?
Exactly. And so I bought an amp that came like a week or so ago. And the guitar from eBay came today. But it has been decided that it should be saved as a Christmas present for me.
Oh.
So it is.
You're on delay mode.
It is
wrapped and set aside.
I tuned it because rightly so, the seller loosened all the strings all the way down before shipping, and so I cranked all the strings up and played a little bit, and it's pretty sweet. I'm so not used to playing an electric where the strings are just butter under your fingers. It's so much easier to play. It's like,
really,
I'm sure there's some good metaphor out there, but
like a hot knife through butter.
Exactly. It's like using a cold knife through butter right out of the fridge, or a hot knife through butter that's been warmed up a little bit.
That's a good name of an album, probably. Hot Knife Through Butter. It's your first album.
I bet that's been used already.
Did you play a little riff after you tuned it up just to get a sound of it?
I briefly riffed, and then one of the things I liked about this particular offering was that it came with a case. Because sometimes you can buy a guitar and there's no, and you got to buy a separate case. But this one came with a case, and it was very well wrapped and shipped from Scotland, where it came from previously, and now it's in a closet somewhere. And maybe tomorrow when the kids are in school, I might pull it out and fondle it briefly.
Yes, it says you
Fret
probably
fondle.
shouldn't. You probably shouldn't do that from the expectation of a Christmas present.
Yeah,
that you should feel guilty if you do that. I'm not saying that you won't do it, and I'm not saying that you will feel guilty because for all I know, you have no remorse.
I will not. I have no self-conscious about those things.
Well, it's hard to believe that we've had such a happy time for a full hour.
An hour's gone by already?
It's gone by.
Did we just say hello?
Well, it's always a joy to talk to you.
I will talk to you soon. Good evening to you, my friend.
Adios, amigo.
Hey guys, thanks so much for listening to episode 37. You can find the show notes at happyhour.fm/037. And of course, you can follow us on Twitter at happyhourdotfm. And you can email us at happyhourdotfm@gmail.com. And especially if you have enjoyed this and would like us to continue doing it, visit patreon.com/happyhour to give us a couple little nuggets in our stockings. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week. Merry Christmas.